Similarities with South America, Peru, and Easter Island. All these places are related to navigation. Since they crossed open oceans making use of the dominant current, based on knowledge of constellations, that include some of the brightest stars. For instance, the so-called Serpent, as well as the Condor-like bird that is a sacred bird and typical for the Andes, related to the spiritual Antis Cygnus. Northern Cross, that is related to the celestial North Pole. Celestial North Pole that was not in Polaris as today, but in the wing of the Condor Cygnus at the time. Cygnus and Celestial-Pole both seen as passages to Afterlife. Serpent and Cygnus, both very characteristic for that culture that came from far away, by navigating especially the Pacific Ocean, Easter Island, and Atlantic Ocean, Malta and Gozo, European-Facades. Navigating the oceans would make them dependent on references for east and west. Due west and east to be found in the belt of Orion the Hunter. Above the belt is red giant star Aldebaran, which is the most bright star in Taurus. It is the eye of the bull Taurus. North and east for survival and success. Because of such extreme navigation across one or both oceans, the due north was important, but due east and west were even more. So they had to wait for the belt of Orion to rise to pin down due east or west. Orion and the belt of Orion rise after Aldebaran, the follower of the Pleiades. So ideally the navigator would recognize the Pleiades, then Aldebaran, and next Orion and his belt. And that is exactly what is showcased on the pillars of Gobekli Tepe, and on the back of the moai of Easter Island. Orion, Orion's belt and genitals of statue behind the loincloth. The belt of Orion. The genitals behind the loincloth or animal hide hanging from the belt of the statue, meaning rising from the horizon, Aldebaran the navel or circle in relief. Egg of the two birds around the egg, on the back of the moai, and the Pleiades above, around the upper bird. Cygnus, Condor, northern cross reference for the celestial North Pole, in the case of the moai and to the right of Cygnus the North Cross. Today defined as swan, holding the celestial pole, and the Pleiades as birds to the right. Ready to be reborn, serpent pointing downward. So this is clearly a culture with profound knowledge regarding navigating the ocean. Or they had to come from far, or navigation would be extremely important for their culture, and according to us both. Cuneiform writings across the world. Cuneiform writings were found in Peru, and Phoenicians' writings, in diverse rock art, are found from the northeast of Brazil to the south of Brazil. The Phoenicians were the, later, effective traders and travelers and advanced navigators on the oceans. Phoenicians and or Roman-style artefact at the head of the Amazon River. Phoenicians and or Roman-style sophisticated weapons were found up the Amazon River, in its extreme west in the Peruvian Andes. Phoenicians and or Romans should not have been able to navigate upstream that far, as they would not survive and or pass by the hundreds of tribes' attacks, especially while navigating up. Besides, they would need the logistics of tribes to get so far upstream. Hesitation and delay of over 100 years despite El-Dorado. Please keep in mind that despite the specific goal and desire to find El-Dorado first or early, it took the Europeans, this even in the 16th century, roughly 50 years to be able to achieve a first rapid passing downstream. We are referring to Francisco de Orellana's expedition down the Amazon River in 1541. There is the narrative that when Francisco de Orellana went back he supposedly had no success because he could not find back the Amazon River. It is near to impossible not to find back the Amazon River, this for a number of reasons. The Amazon River is visible in the Atlantic Ocean, especially near its mouth. When the river's sediment-rich water mixes with the salt water of the ocean, it creates a distinct visual plume that can be seen from space. The mud transported by the Amazon River is visible along the coast of French Guiana and beyond, across the Suriname coast. The Amazon River is a major source of suspended particulate matter, and its influence is significant in the coastal waters of the Guianas. This SPMC, primarily fine clay sediments, is transported northward along the coast, forming mudbanks and affecting the coastal ecosystem. Altogether, not finding back the Amazon River is a very strange explanation, and we suspect Francisco de Orellana could not get through the Amazon-Amarin defenses when approaching the Amazon River and El-Dorado, upstream. Also, this strange first and unique exploration rounding South America and crossing the Andes with his ship is interpreted by us as the impossibility of approaching the Amazon River, and consequently El-Dorado, passing Maranhão, and next navigate further upstream. For sure the major Amazon-Amarin defenses were where the Amazon River drains in the Atlantic Ocean. Pillars of Gobekli Tepe, constellations. It clearly are constellations that are carved, or molded, into the pillars of Gobekli Tepe. For sure related to navigation on the oceans, but also on land. The Amazon-Amaran tribes of today know several of the Gobekli Tepe constellations, especially those related to due east and west. The Orion belt and related stars and constellations needed to detect due east and west worldwide is worked in the belt, plus loincloth, of some of the pillars, just as the very bright star Aldebaran, that rises just before the Orion belt, almost the same in the backs of the Moe and Easter Island. On the pillars of Gobekli Tepe, Aldebaran is just above the belt, navel, and in the Moe statues it is also above the belt, at the height of the navel, as a circle in relief, but here Aldebaran is the egg that one or two birds, seen on both sides of Aldebaran, reach out for. Conservation. The Pleiades that rise before the red giant star Aldebaran are in the Gobekli Tepe pillars, and in certain Moe statues on the back of the head. Spirit-like figures without arms and legs, and related to crossing to the spiritual world, Cygnus, also Northern Cross, in order to pass on qualities to the descendants. Certainly in the case of Gobekli Tepe and possibly in the case of the Moe representing the due North Pole, at the time of Gobekli Tepe the due North Pole was located in the wing of the constellation Cygnus, and related to crossing over to the spiritual world or to afterlife, this in order to allow for rebirth, on its turn represented by snake sperm also located in the spiritual area, close to the celestial pole and or North Pole. Pillars of Gobekli Tepe, not hunted animals. Many seem to think it is the biodiversity or what they hunt etc., that is represented on the pillars, but it is all about stars, constellations, references and fertility and transformation, spiritual symbols, also in the constellations. It is this way that Thor Heyerdahl crossed several oceans, most probably without the use of the less precise compass.